Sean Brennan lines up on row 5 with Max Edmondson. The last two folk we just heard from, Dave Marshall on row 6 with Mike Epps. We are underway, the clock is ticking down, and who is it going to be in this one as they head down into turn number 1 for the first time? Good clean start, let's hope for not too much bunching. Decent start then by Richards, who gets away out front with Rob Stapleford.
Yeah, Richards just got a really good launch. He seemed to react at least 0.2 of a second faster than Stapleford.
Yeah, good launch from him. Robbie, we know, is a keen racer. He won't give up. He will keep fighting away. And as soon as he's under the rear spoiler, of course, of that car, he's going to be a danger. Max Coates has run well. So Coates from 4th on the grid. He's 3rd. Decent start for him. Josh Martin is in 4th. And then Jack McIntyre, Rob Butler in 6th. Places changing around as they weave through this newest part of the Snetterton circuit. It's been down for quite a few years now, to be perfectly honest, but still much better than the old 200 circuit as it's now known, although the 200 circuit has got the kink out of turn 2, if they use it now, rather than just a straight 90-degree corner. But Matt Richards away. We have seen reverse grid winners here in the official mini challenge eSeries racing, so Matt Richards very well capable of taking the win. Stapleton still in P2 as they make their way down the long straight for the first time.
Yeah, I think Max Coates is actually a reverse grid specialist. Was it 1 or 2 races he won in the mini challenge last year on the reverse grid? I can't remember.
I can't remember off the top of my head as well, but yeah, Max is one of those drivers that you don't rule out of anything being fastest off the front. Was it his first season minis last year? Wasn't it? As they came onto the touring car programme, and you know he's a danger to the other drivers in terms of results. You know, from where he finishes in qualifying, and also the reverse grid races. And this coming season, if he comes back to Mini, that second year, I'm guessing is going to be a bonus for him, second year's experience.
It always makes it easier because you're returning to everywhere, aren't you? Instead of having to learn everywhere you go, and it means you have to work harder in your first year to really be fast. And there are just some experiences that you need before you can really win the whole lot. You know, when I did a couple of guest races in 2018, and that prepared me well. It meant that when I sat on the grid for the first race at Alton Park, I was ready. I felt good. I think, to be fair, at the beginning of the season, I thought top 3 in the championship would be quite nice because I'd not raced front-wheel drive. But then I won the first race and thought, well, that's pressure. I need to win the whole thing down. Thankfully, I did.
Neat move by Robbie Stapleford back at the hairpin to go into the lead, and Max Coates as they go down into Agostini on the inside line of Matt Richards, who we're looking at inset at the moment. So good stuff from Stapleford. Here comes Coates, still working that inside line hard. Little tap on the back end of the 44 car. They both lose out as a result of that. We've still got a car sideways. I think it's been recovered. This is good news for Robbie Stapleford, who'll try and get away. Max on the inset looking cool. There was just a little bit of contact there, but this is how close mini racing can get, Jiggy.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, reverse grids, this is what it gives you. People of slightly different speeds in amongst it. It was unfortunate, I think, that moment there, but thankfully everyone continued without being in a big messy pile, so that's quite nice. But what it is going to allow is the guys behind to get up to them. Oh, there goes Zelos.
Yep, Dan Zelos, another spinner as well. Max Coates, it's not going to be his day, or is the pity. So Max will get back on. It's going to be a little dent in his championship aspirations. He might well be looking at podium positions for prizes rather than the overall championship. But having said that, we're still only in the halfway stage of this races this year. There is still so much that could play out over the remaining 4 rounds. Stapleford, your leader, Jack McIntyre second. Isaac Smith is in 3rd place. It's going to be great if we welcome Isaac Smith back onto the podium. Haven't had a chat with him for a while. The Rinks Esports Racing Team entry. Best result so far this year. You've got to go back to race 1, Brands Hatch. Had a 7th position there. Just hasn't had the rub of the green, Isaac Smith, but up in 3rd at the moment. Dave Marshall's coming through. He's in 6th place. Mike Epps is 7th from 12th on the grid. Max Edmondson next up. Epps has dropped back a little bit and has had a moment now in 10th. Matt Richards 11th, but it's Stapleford, McIntyre and Smith out front, again proving the value of these reverse grid races. I'm wondering though, as we look at Jack Mack in P2, the silent assassin, the Silverstone composites logo which we saw sported by Dave Marshall last year. I'm wondering whether we're going to see Dave Marshall have the opportunity to come through from a podium. There's a bit of a gap developing, isn't there, Jiggy, at the moment, but Marshall could here show his expertise around the Snetterton configuration.
Yeah, I think a podium's on. I'm not sure if he can get to the win. McIntyre, I think, might start making progress, but then Staples fast. In the background, we saw Ep sideways. Judging by the angle, I'd say he got a tap, and it was actually Edmondson that was right behind him at the time. So there might have been a little bit of contact there. Well, I'm sure we'll find out in the post-race scrutiny.
Lap time's a little bit down on what we've seen so far. Stapleton with a 2 minutes 1.626, 6.62 for McIntyre, 2 minutes 2.1 for Isaac Smith. Smith looking pretty good. Maybe saved his setup, his tyre setup, to count for this last race of the day, second race of the day. As we look at Jack Noller, very cool, calm and collected, in 18th place at the minute, trying to get back up into the points. Is Mr. Noller has had a few good point scoring races so far this year, and he's got Mr. Reed, Tiger Reed, right behind him as well, trying to get up into the points as well. Damien Hall is a couple of places ahead of them in 16th, knocking on the door of that first championship point for this weekend. Ryan Elliott sitting in 15th place, which is the solitary point, but it's Stapleford, McIntyre and Smith still there. As we look at Damien Hall, I think we decided that the Bajan time 4 hours behind us, so it's 5 to 7 in the morning there, so he's getting up real early in the morning, is Damien Hall to have a go.
That's brutal. I'm not sure I'd like to do that.
Dave Marshall makes another great move, goes up ahead of Josh Martin, so good stuff from him. Still the stuff coming through on social media. Michelle Dunn saying, come on Jordan, get your foot down. Where is Mr. Brennan at the moment? 4th place is the answer there. And Zach Blackwell quoting Dan Butcher-Lord, not sure what for. Dan's not racing with us, but a local guy prepared some very good minis in the championship, sewed up his championship here back in 2019 as well, did Dan Butcher-Lord. And Mike Brennan, Mikey's joined the social media feed as well, saying go Juggy Bear, so good to see Mikey Brennan watching it as well. As the race leader's still there, Stapleford, McIntyre and Smith. Jordan Brennan in P4, the man we're focusing on at the moment, has got some work to do to try and close in on that top 3, but we'll be looking at his virtual mirrors because the machine is behind him as well. So Dave Marshall, if it was any other driver, you'd say that Dave Marshall is any other driver, they might think about giving a tap back for the one that they received, inadvertent though it was, in race number 1. But Dave Marshall, when he spoke on the interview, just the proper guy, isn't he? Just said, you know, he realised that it was just a misjudgment.
Yeah, and that was good of him. And I don't think he'd want to give him a tap back. However, if Jordan was to do it again, he might fire him off into the wall somewhere.
But there are drivers that would dish it out, wouldn't they? Straight away.
They would. But those are great examples of drivers that aren't going to win any championships because they're not thinking enough. And actually, yeah, it's a great move there. If they think about this, they can catch up to these top 3. Equally, the top 3 can, if they start fighting, they might let Dave Marshall win this. I didn't think at the beginning it would be possible, but if Brennan just sits on him, toes around a little bit, he does actually have an opportunity. We've got a long way to go, 11.5 minutes left plus a lap.
This could play out quite nicely, couldn't it? We're looking at Max Edmondson getting stuck in as well, drops down to 10th. Matt Richards up ahead of him now. Rob Butler is in 8th place. Butler, a driver. It's a shame we haven't had a chat with Rob Butler. He's a great guy, had several podia last year. And let's hope that we get to have a chat out for him. Chris Hall says watch out for the late run from Max Coates. Late push, he says. I don't think it'll be a literal push, but a push to try and get onto it. I've had a question asking what the rough cost of a full rig is. I don't know the answer to that, but we'll try and get that from Mike as an idea. I'm guessing it's depends what you want, but state of the art, I've been told around about 10,000 for a state of the art kit, which these guys deliver. So hopefully that's answered the question on social media for you. Can start at £5,000, 10 grand, very much top spec, but give you an idea. Talk to the guys anyway at BRRC Custom Build Rigs if you are interested in having a go. Max Edmondson still in 9th position. Stapleford, McIntyre, Smith, Dave Marshall in 4th. Marshall 2.6 seconds down.
You'll see that Mike Epps has managed to release himself. He was having a bit of a scrap. Now, he was looking to take some decent points out of everybody in this race. He knew that was his goal. But, of course, Marshall has he's got away. I think Mike can minimise the loss, but it's going to be tough to stay with him, given the gaps ahead of him.
Yeah, very much so. That's the line we go again. Looking back from Rob Butler, it's amazing seeing the superb simulation that's done of these tracks. You know, so much that you recognise, and it's just absolute detail, even in the distance that you can see here. Butler 8th, chasing Mike Epps. Mike having gone past, closing in now is Max Edmondson. Matt Richards in 10th position is behind. Then Luke Kidsley and Dan Zelos. Dan started on row 4, so with a little bit of work to do. Josh Hislop and Max Coates dicing it out. Hislop in the lime green machine, and Coates is starting to put this run to try and close back down the order, and the aim is going to be to get into the points. He's going to be looking at Ryan Elliott. 15th place is his target to get back in the points and just start to try and claw his way back. He's going to get one place closer to that. Now again, you can see the scuffs on the side of the Primex car. Max works hard. Good clean manoeuvre there on the inside line, though. Nice clean pass.
Yeah, it's good. I think he'll probably have designs on something a little bit higher up than 15th. And we saw a few of them, like Max and Zelos. They got involved, didn't they, at the beginning? So Zelos is going to be trying to claw his way back up. A good race from Luke Kidsley. He's up in 11th. That's a big improvement from earlier on.
Yeah, he's done well, hasn't he? He's got into what would be, if we had another race, the reverse grid position. So started 15th. Sorry, it was 13th or 15th, Luke Kidsley, just outside the zone, as it were. Close for the lead now. Robbie Stapleton, we were looking back from his rear-facing view, and Jack McIntyre, the driver, immediately behind him. McIntyre has not been led, so he's very much putting the pressure on. And Isaac Smith, just 2 or 3 lengths adrift at the moment. If the leaders start to get involved, as ever, could slow each other up, and it might bring Isaac Smith into the mix. Now, Isaac was posting quick lap times anyway of his own right. Here they come, ready to cross the line again. Slightly uphill, along centre straight, then downhill into turn 1. Stapleton at the moment still looking, actually, after a little bit of a threat. Relatively safe at the moment in the lead. Jack McIntyre still handily placed there. Is this going to develop into another battle for the lead or third place, do you reckon, Indy?
Well, it could be. If these guys are clever, they could almost guarantee themselves first, second and third. Dave Marshall's looming in the background, but so many times I've been in Dave's position, you see these cars ahead and you're so confident they're going to fight and you're going to have an opportunity to go for the win at some point. So you never really know, and it comes down to experience a lot. We'll see. We will see. Could be exciting.
Marshall's the quickest of them, 2 minutes 10.3. So he's just got that little bit of extra performance over those, and he'll know that. He'll know that he's the quicker of them, and he'll want to try and close down. He'll be looking at the differential in points between himself and Mike Epps, which will have opened up again a little bit more as we look at Josh Martin having a good go in 7th place and working hard there. Great shot of Josh, a great youngster. We did one of the interviews with him last year, and again, apologies for not delivering those this year, but we used to pop them into the lunch break. There's not really anywhere we can do it. I might try and do a few more a little bit later on. Whilst we're talking about guest commentators, I mentioned that we've got Ronan Pearson joining us next week, which is good, and a driver who would have this as her home circuit in the real world joining us later on in the year is Lydia Walmsley, confirmed this weekend, another mini driver. So that's really looking forward to Lydia joining us as well. There's some good battling going on here still.
There's always a good battle in the mini challenge. Real world, eSeries, it doesn't matter. The cars, they lend themselves to good scraps, and we saw plenty of guys like now side by side. You got enough grip to do that. It needs a little bit of what should we say, cooperation between the drivers, of course, because when you're racing door handle to door handle, it can go wrong very, very quickly. But clearly the level's very good here, and lots of guys respecting each other's track space.
Yeah, the battle you're looking at, Josh Hislop and Jack Noller, and Jack trying to get ahead of them. Max Coates working hard as well, and let's see whether Noller can go through. He's on the outside line, so Hislop should be safe for the moment, but Noller trying to get around as our little drone shot works nicely there. Down into the hairpin we go again. Hislop on the inside line holds on to position, but Jack Noller in the 36 machine, really working hard. This is for 18th place. The guys will be wanting to get onto that group ahead of them who are on the points. Max Coates is now past Damien Hall. He's into 16th. He's only one place away from getting into the points battle. The leaders, though, are getting closer. Isaac Smith, the third of the cars we're looking at, closing in on Jack McIntyre, who I think is getting closer to Robert Stapleton, and they're going to have eyes on the virtual mirrors to see Dave Marshall trying to reel them in as well. Could have a three-way battle for the lead here, Jiggy, as we get into the closing stages.
It does look like it, and I don't think Marshall's closing fast enough to get involved in this battle unless they get scrappy on the last lap. And again, these guys at the front, they need to be clever. They need to not make lunges now. They need to leave it to the last moment so that they actually stay on that podium. It's so easy to throw it all away, but Dave's pushing, you can see, very, very hard. He's managed to get it just below 2 seconds, but they've only got, what, 3 laps left, so it's going to be close. I'm interested to see how much these guys scrap and what sort of racecraft they have available in their banks.
Back down, having a look at Max Edmondson in 9th place, Matt Richards 10th, Dan Zelos is in 11th. And the 4 car, the white car, is Max Edmondson, just coming through Murray's corner at the moment, where we saw some serious action in the last touring car race of the day in the round that we had. Was that September, October time last year? Such a condensed season, it's difficult to try and remember the dates, but it was a thrilling finale to the season. Stapleford very much under pressure now from Jack McIntyre, who looks at the outside line here as they go down into the hairpin. He'll just back out of that. He's trying to get the run now. The inside line into Palmer's has been covered by Robbie Stapleford out front. This is surely going to bring Isaac Smith into the mix. Isaac's still there in 3rd place, but Stapleford under pressure as they head down, very slightly down the gradient in towards Agostini.
Absolutely. In my view, that's too early. That's too early, unless you know you've got the pace.
He's outbraked him. He's got him down into Agostini, down the inside line, hard on the brakes, and very little in the way of contact. Maybe just a little bit of a scrape. Great stuff, James.
They're still fighting. It's just going to bring everyone else into play, which is going to be great to watch. But from a driver standpoint, I just would have waited a bit longer. We've got now, look at Marshall. He's closing in. Isaac Smith now is making the move. It's going to get scrappy. No one's going to give in now. This is it.
Yeah, Jack McIntyre, very neatly done move. He was giving notice of intent at the hairpin and then just dived down the inside line, hard on the brakes into Agostini. 6 Snetterton passed by him.
Yeah, lovely move.
Robbie Stapleford P2, and it has brought Isaac Smith into it. Isaac, of course, made his way through the BRSCC's Fiesta Championship, another good championship to start off with. As Jiggy said earlier on, no racing is cheap, but it's a cost-effective way of getting into racing. We've seen such a crossover of drivers coming through BRSCC's Fiesta Championship, moving up into Mini Challenge, and Isaac Smith was champion in that. Such a great lad to talk to, quite Yorkshireman, and loves his racing, lets his driving speak for himself, and he's doing a super job here in 3rd place at the moment. Robbie Stapleford, though, soaked up a lot of pressure in this race from Jack McIntyre, and now he's in that. What is it like to be in that position, Jiggy, when you're in the middle, attacking and defending? Which is the priority?
Oh, it's so tough. There is no priority. If you don't overtake, then the guy behind is going to come at you. But you've got to keep your eyes on the mirrors, because they could make that lunge. You never know. Especially when people are in a podium position and they can see the win. They make manoeuvres that they might not ordinarily do when they're slightly calmer. So you just have to have eyes all around you, which is why I always use a convex mirror, concave, so that it's convex, isn't it? Convex. So that you can just see so much more. You can see right down the left-hand side of your car, for example, if you run it properly. Whereas these mirrors in the minis are actually quite small, and the roll cage gets in the way of your left-hand mirror. And if you turn in and you don't see someone, that's it. That's the end of your race, or at the very least, you're going to lose positions, maybe have some damage. So you've just got to have eyes at the back of your head.
And this race has come out exactly as you predicted earlier on. So this is why we have people like Jiggy joining us on commentary. He's called it so well. The top 3 have closed up. Dave Marshall is getting closer. Jordan Brennan is getting closer as well. Mike Epps very nearly with that group as well, as we have 26 seconds left on the clock. Is Jack McIntyre going to make it around before the clock goes down? Are we going to get that extra lap? This is the key thing at the moment as we ride on board with Juggy Bear. Jordan Brennan, 5th position at the moment. You can see the lead quartet ahead. The car immediately ahead is Dave Marshall. who's in 4th place, trying to close in on the leaders. Jack Macker's building a little bit of a lead at the moment, getting away from Rob Stapleford. And the clock is down, so the answer is that they're about to go on to the final tour. So just over 3 miles of virtual Snetterton 300 circuit to go.
Yeah, McIntyre's impressed me actually. He must have just known he had that little bit extra, and he's built the gap. Having said that, he's just lost what's that, 10th and a half, 2 tenths coming to that final corner. He may just have timed it perfectly and known his abilities, if you like, known what he had left in the tank. Because of course everyone's tyres are slightly different, and everyone can play with their setup a little bit in this. It's what makes it good fun. And there he goes. He's got back to almost half a second.
Yeah, he's built this well. He's looking for a second win of the season. Most of his results have been top 10. He's had a couple of glitches which have kind of dropped him away championship-wise. He's 3rd overall in the standings, 2nd in the sim category. And it's only Dave Marshall ahead of him in the sim races. And Jack Macker, driver I'd love to see come and join us in the real world as we ride on the last lap on board with Jordan Brennan, ahead of Mike Epps, who is in 6th place. Dave Marshall immediately in front. Jordan won't want to throw any points away at this stage, but he's getting very close to the machine Marshall, who just can't close in enough on the lead trio. We look inset to see the trio again. Not really any battling going on there. They've all found their own space, and I think found a little bit of calm, and such as it can be in this last lap. And it looks like McIntyre is going to hold on to it. We are now starting to see Isaac Smith just closing in a little bit on Robbie Stapleford for P2.
Yeah, I think it's settled now, though, actually, Richard. They're too far behind, unless they make some sort of crazy lunge, which I don't think anyone in this top bunch are likely to do. They've been quite controlled, but I don't think anyone's going to be able to make a move now, as exciting as it would be.
Through into the Brundle-Nelson complex again. It would be exciting, and I agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen. Although Smith looking close as they head down towards Bob Hole again. There is the race leader, Jack McIntyre, looking for a second win of the season. Isaac Smith very close indeed at the moment to Robbie Stapleford. He's going to go wide around Coram and maybe look to see if there's going to be a gap at the inside of Murray's. There won't be. This is effectively the last corner, and McIntyre negotiates it successfully. There's no reason to think that he might do otherwise, and he climbs very slightly uphill. We'll head towards the virtual checkered flag to win. It's a good winning margin.